If we could meet now, not in words, but in awareness, I would not measure your distractions or label your restless hunger as failure. I would simply invite you to look, not outward at the noise, but inward to where the real war is being fought. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're caught. Caught in the invisible tide of a force older than civilization, yet more cunning than any enemy ever faced, dopamine. A messenger once noble, now turned mischief maker. It was dopamine that taught the first humans to hunt, to seek, to survive. It pushed the cave dweller toward fire, the wanderer toward stars. But what once served as compass for survival now serves algorithms, fast pleasure, and endless wanting. The world no longer whispers, it screams. And in the screaming, the signal is lost. Your days blur not because you lack purpose, but because purpose has been replaced by pings, likes, and fleeting highs that vanish like mist the moment they arrive. You wake up with fire in your chest. Today, you say, will be different. Yet by midday, the flame has dimmed, smothered by the weightless gravity of habit. You scroll, you snack, you start and abandon. The voice inside begins to whisper, maybe you're just lazy, but the voice lies. Laziness is not your affliction. Distraction is your drug, and dopamine is its dealer. You are not alone in this. You are not weak. You are merely human in a time that rewards beasts of impulse more than seekers of meaning. The brain craves stimulation, not fulfillment. It rewards the start, not the finish. It promises joy but delivers numbness. And so you find yourself always on the edge of becoming, but never arriving. The mirror doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell the full story either. Carl Jung once said, "What you avoid controls you." And most people, without knowing, spend their entire lives running from themselves, filling the emptiness with screens, sound, sweetness, and scrolling. Not because they want to, but because they've been trained to. Your phone is not just a tool. It is a slot machine. Every notification, a spin. Every scroll, a gamble. And the jackpot, a second of escape. But you cannot outrun your own mind. You cannot consume your way out of the void. Because what you're really running from isn't boredom or anxiety. It's the truth that lives in stillness. The truth that demands change. The truth that whispers, "This is not who I really am." You're praised for being busy. But being busy is not the same as being alive. There is a form of numbness that masquerades as productivity. A kind of inner death masked by endless motion. You chase goals, dreams, aesthetics, validation. But underneath all of it, a quiet voice persists. It says, slow down. It says, come home. You are not meant to be a machine of reaction. You are meant to be an architect of choice. But that choice begins only when you see the script you are acting out. Most people never do. They live the same day under 1,000 disguises. They call it ambition, but it is addiction. They call it passion, but it is compulsion. Jung knew, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's the real enemy, not dopamine, but unconsciousness. Living life half awake, half present, half alive, surrounded by everything yet starving for something real. And what is real? Not what's easy, not what's fast. What's real is the effort that builds, the silence that heals, the challenge that shapes. We're told to chase happiness, but happiness is not the goal. It is the residue of meaning. And meaning is never found in the easy or the immediate. It's found in depth, in pain transformed, in boredom faced, in the raw, unfiltered moments where nothing is entertaining, but everything is true. You scroll because you want to feel something. You eat because you want to soothe something. You fantasize because you want to escape something. But underneath all of it, there's only one question. What is it you're unwilling to feel? That is where your real work begins. That is where your real life waits. You are not powerless in this. You are simply untrained. The world has educated your cravings, not your consciousness. It has taught you to consume, not to create. But the soul does not grow by passive input. It expands by active engagement with the self, with discomfort, with what you most fear. Every time you choose to pause instead of react, to reflect instead of indulge, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You are not here to be a passive participant in someone else's dream. You are here to author something no one else can write, your own becoming. But to do that, you must wake up. You must see that the enemy was never outside you. It was the silence you refused to sit with, the craving you refused to decode, the emotion you refused to face. Jung believed the shadow holds your power and your cravings, those uncontrollable urges to click, check, run. They are your shadow speaking, not to destroy you, but to be integrated, to be understood. The craving for distraction is often a cry for deeper attention. The addiction to pleasure is often a mask for unhealed pain. And the constant seeking of novelty is often the result of a soul that's forgotten how to be still. Stillness is not passive. It is the beginning of creation. It is where the real you emerges, free from noise, free from craving. But getting there requires a kind of courage most never practice. The courage to feel without fleeing, to sit with the unease, not as punishment, but as portal. Because inside every restless moment lies the doorway to insight, and inside every craving lies a question. What am I running from? And more importantly, what would happen if I stopped? The truth is, you already know what matters. It's not another scroll, not another snack, not another fake high that disappears the moment it comes. What matters is the work you avoid, the silence you drown, the project you postpone, the relationship you neglect, the truth you suppress. And what would happen if, even for a moment, you said no to the script? If you paused before the click, sat with the ache, breathed into the boredom, you would feel the discomfort rise, but then something else would rise too. Clarity, power, a sense of returning. That moment is your turning point. That moment is the rebellion. That moment is the beginning of the life you've been pretending to seek through shortcuts. The life you were meant to build, one conscious act at a time. There is a hunger in you that no scroll can satisfy, no snack can silence, no entertainment can ease. That hunger is not weakness. It is a compass. It points not to the next dopamine hit, but to the path you've ignored, the path that feels harder but leads deeper. And every time you choose to numb that hunger, you drift further from the self you are meant to become. But that self is still there, buried maybe, forgotten perhaps, but never gone. It waits in your quietest moments, behind your loudest distractions. It waits when you feel like giving up, when you feel restless, when you feel like nothing is enough. That's not a sign to run. It's an invitation to return. You are not here to be a puppet for algorithms. You're not here to live someone else's vision of success. You are here to uncover what only you can give: your presence, your creation, your truth. And the price of that discovery is simple, but steep. You must stop running from boredom, from silence, from your own soul. Jung knew the soul speaks not in words, but in symbols, in longings, in the ache that never leaves. That ache is sacred. Don't medicate it away. Don't drown it in likes and noise. Sit with it. Ask it what it needs. That ache is the call to consciousness. And in a world that monetizes your attention, reclaiming your mind is the most radical act. Attention is life. Where you place it, you grow. Where you squander it, you decay. If you give your best hours to trivia, you will feel hollow. If you give your best thoughts to screens, you will feel anxious. Not because you're broken, but because your soul was built for more. It was built to create, to connect, to carve meaning from mystery. It was built for challenge, not comfort, for depth, not distraction, for presence, not passive consumption. Every great life begins with one courageous act, the decision to stop reacting and start responding. The decision to choose meaning over momentum, to choose creation over craving, to choose the real over the easy. That doesn't mean becoming a monk or deleting every app. It means choosing, one moment at a time, what you give your energy to. It means saying no when the urge hits, and you know it's not aligned. It means pausing long enough to ask, what do I really want? And being honest with the answer, even when it scares you. Because truth does scare us. It demands change. It demands letting go of the old self. The part of you that feels safe in routine, in comfort, in predictability. But that safety is a cage, and your soul is too wild, too vast, too luminous to stay in cages. You are not meant to cope. You are meant to rise. But rising doesn't look like hustle. It looks like alignment. It looks like choosing what feeds you, not what numbs you. It looks like building a life from the inside out, not chasing one from the outside in. Because the greatest danger is not failure. It is success at things that do not matter. Look around. The world is full of people who got what they wanted but lost who they were, who climbed ladders only to find they were leaning against the wrong walls, who consumed endlessly but felt nothing. Don't be that. Be awake. Be intentional. Be the kind of person who lives like their attention is sacred, because it is. Jung believed we are not here to be good. We are here to be whole. Wholeness means integrating your cravings, not denying them. Listening to your shadow, not silencing it. It means turning even your restlessness into ritual, your pain into purpose, your triggers into teachers. You will fall, you will scroll again, you will chase again, but each time you'll remember sooner. You'll come back quicker, because you've seen through the illusion now. The veil has lifted. You know what's happening when you reach for distraction, and that awareness alone is everything. It is your power. You're not just building habits. You're sculpting a mind, a nervous system that can stay when things get quiet, a spirit that no longer fears discomfort, a soul that doesn't flinch when faced with itself. That is strength. That is freedom. That is what it means to be truly alive. And here is the most beautiful part. The more you choose what matters, the more what once controlled you loses its grip. The urge to check fades, the craving to numb lessens. You begin to feel something rare in today's world. Presence. Real, grounded, soul-deep presence. You hear more. You see more, you feel more. Life begins to taste different. You don't need a new app or a new system. You need a new relationship with yourself. One built not on control, but on awareness. Not on discipline alone, but on devotion. Not on guilt, but on curiosity. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a consciousness to be awakened. Jung would tell you that what you long for is already inside you, waiting to be unlocked by choice. And that choice is not a one-time decision. It is 1,000 small sacred moments when you pause instead of react, when you listen instead of escape, when you choose the long path, not the shortcut. That is the path of meaning. And meaning, unlike dopamine, does not leave you emptier. It fills you. It stretches you. It humbles and exalts you. It is the only thing that lasts. And if you follow it, even imperfectly, you will begin to feel something you thought was lost. Yourself. Not the self the world wants. Not the self shaped by likes and metrics, but the true self. The quiet, steady, luminous you. And from that place, everything changes. You don't need to force yourself to create. You crave it. You don't need to shame yourself into growth. You desire it. You don't chase pleasure. You cultivate joy. You live from depth, not from default. You rise not with noise, but with knowing. And when the world tries to seduce you back into distraction, you smile, not because you're superior, but because you remember what it cost you. You remember the nights you couldn't sleep because you knew something had to change. You remember the emptiness that nothing external could fill. And you remember the moment you decided to return to yourself. That return is not loud. It is not dramatic. It's a whisper, a breath, a single moment of awareness. But from that seed, a new life grows. One not built on craving, but on creation. One not ruled by dopamine, but directed by intention. One not shaped by reaction, but authored by the deepest truth within you. So here you are, awake, watching, feeling, choosing, and maybe for the first time in a long time, fully here, not chasing, not escaping, just here. And that is where everything begins.